Good morning. Oh, I love a spotlight and applause. Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Bury. I am honored to be the CEO of Robin Hood. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 35th Annual Heroes Breakfast. That's right, worth some applause. For over 3 decades, Robin Hood has played an essential role in connecting low-income New Yorkers to quality and affordable child care and early childhood programs. We have worked to make sure that every child in our city can attend a great school, graduate, and pursue post-secondary education. We have strived to give New Yorkers access to good-paying jobs with benefits, to healthy foods, accessible health care, mental health supports, and a safe and affordable place to live. Our mission is to make sure that economic opportunity is real for all New Yorkers, to put our neighbors struggling with poverty on the pathway to the middle class, and to make sure they never fall back into poverty. The organizations that we support with your help do that important work every day. And it's work that remains as urgent as ever. Because unfortunately, as some New Yorkers escape poverty, others take their place. Our most recent Poverty Tracker report revealed that today 2 million New Yorkers are living in poverty, and another 2.5 million are a missed paycheck, a rent increase, or an unplanned emergency away. But we can fight back. Since 1988, Robin Hood has invested $3 billion in this struggle. Thanks to you, we have become an essential part of New York City's safety net. Over the past 36 years, we have partnered through 6 different gubernatorial and mayoral administrations to bring innovative solutions to scale. Thanks to you, New Yorkers can depend on the fact that no matter what crises come our way, Robin Hood will respond to the emergencies of today and lead on the opportunities of tomorrow. This morning is our way of saying thank you for your commitment to the fight against poverty in New York City and for your support of the hundreds of thousands of New York City heroes who have stepped up for themselves, their families, their neighbors, and their communities. And now I have the privilege to introduce you to one of them. At Robin Hood, we know that obtaining a college degree is one of the very best ways to escape poverty permanently. We also know that when you're struggling with poverty, getting a college degree is hard. And it's not just about the academics, it goes beyond the challenges of mastering your schoolwork. 10% of the City of University of New York students are parents. 45% are the first in their families to go to college. And 2/3 are employed full-time. Too many families are confronted with a difficult choice between staying in school and supporting their families. In 2012, Robin Hood funded a randomized control trial for a program called CUNY ACE, Accelerated Study and Associate Programs. CUNY ACE helps low-income students get their 2-year associate's degree by providing financial assistance for things like tuition, books, Metro cards, and by giving students academic and career advising. CUNY ACE has been wildly successful. Students in the program have double the college graduations rates as other students in associate degree programs, generating an estimated $6 billion in additional lifetime earnings. When the city saw that success, it provided money to scale CUNY ACE from 1,300 students to 25,000 students. Along with our partners at CUNY, we decided to bring this powerful innovation to CUNY's 4-year colleges. Few investments do more to advance our mission than helping students earn a bachelor's degree, which provides a boost in lifetime earnings that is roughly 2 times the size of the boost you get from an associate's degree. That's why in 2015, Robin Hood seeded CUNY ACE, the Accelerate, Complete, and Engage program at John Jay College. And again, we are seeing great results. CUNY ACE not only increases graduation rates by 16%, it has been even more effective among Black and Latino male students. Today, CUNY ACE has served 6,000 students at 7 CUNY campuses and is now being replicated at the State University of New York system and in 7 states across the country. Our partnership with CUNY represents Robin Hood at its best. We evaluate new approaches, we invest nimble capital, and we use our firepower and our advocacy to scale what works both throughout and beyond New York City. For their groundbreaking support of New Yorkers working to get to and through college, it is my great honor to present this year's Robin Hood Heroes Award to the CUNY ACE program. And to accept the award, please welcome John Jay College alum and former CUNY ACE participant, Gabriel McDonough, to the stage. I need to tell you that not only is Gabriel incredibly good looking and extraordinarily well dressed, he is truly one of the most extraordinary young men I've ever had the pleasure to meet. He's a testament to what is possible when we invest in the talent that lives in every corner of our city. I can't wait for you to hear Gabriel's story. Thanks, Gabriel.
Good morning. What an amazing crowd, and thank you so much, Mr. Bureau, for that incredible introduction. It's an honor to be here today to accept this award on behalf of the CUNY ACE program. I've always been the type of person who sits at the front of the classroom. That focus, it all started with my mom. But when she came to the States, she had to start all over again. She went back to school to get her degree. She worked early mornings, late nights, and sacrificed for us. From her, I learned that education isn't just about books or grades. It's the foundation for everything you can build afterward. Like many families, we have our sayings. Necesitamos seguir echando para adelante. Para atrás ni para coger impulso, my mom always says. We have to continue to strive for success. Moving backwards is never an option. Growing up, I was the big brother, the one responsible for making sure we got home before the streetlights came on, and weekends weren't for hanging out unless we had every chore done. Being a kid in a Black Latino family on Fordham Road came with expectations, and day-to-day interactions with police was just a part of life. From a young age, I had the drive to study criminology, to understand why our communities faced the struggles we did. I never thought about going away for college, never even considered dorm life. I couldn't imagine leaving my mom to handle everything alone. Staying home meant I could keep things from falling through the cracks. At the start of my senior year of high school, reality set in. I had no clue how to apply to colleges. My mom was working day and night. At my school, the student-to-counselor ratio was 400 to 1. This thing I dreamed of suddenly fell out of reach. Then, I got an email from Mr. Hunter at John Jay College. It said, apply here. We have a new program that sets you up with success, with financial aid, as well as advisors who will support you every step of your undergraduate journey. Commuting to campus in Manhattan every day brought its own set of struggles. I'd get stopped and asked, what are you doing here? And when I said going to class, they say, oh yeah? Show me your ID. I thought college might be different, but some things don't change. That's why having the ACE team behind me was invaluable. The advisors give you the support you need to keep you coming back. They kind of lure you in with snacks and then provide what some people call intrusive advisement. From guiding me to the tutoring center, when classes like statistics hit me hard, to helping me think beyond graduation. I remember my advisor, Berlin, used to say, Gabriel, I don't want to see you in Target after this, unless you're running the whole thing or we're shopping together. What's the plan? Funding from Robin Hood not only makes positions like hers possible, it also covers the cost of textbooks, Metro cards, and tuition reimbursements. Like most students at John Jay, for me, life was a juggling act. Selling sneakers until 10 p.m., spending hours back and forth on the train, early morning classes, getting my little brother to school on time. I was giving it everything I had, and we still couldn't make ends meet. By sophomore year, something had to change. I'd always thought about enlisting in the military. Not only could I serve my country, it was a steady paycheck my family needed. But I wasn't willing to give up my dream of a bachelor's degree either. And I wanted to finish on time, which meant I was gonna have to do both. ACE refused to let me fail. They guided me through setting up a study plan with my sergeants and helped me navigate my course load. With their support, I managed to complete my basic and advanced training, finish my sophomore and junior years, and take care of my family. Then, in March 2019, I was deployed to Iraq and Kuwait for 18 months. Being away was tough, but I was proud to serve. I came home with the title of Signals Communication Sergeant, just in time to graduate with my degree in May of 2020. At that time, the pandemic was in full swing. I started working as a family advocate on the Lower East Side, going door to door offering food resources, helping with support around domestic violence and substance abuse, even walking kids to school. Getting to know these families and their needs opened my eyes to the educational neglect so many students face. No access to clean clothes or a hot shower, the lack of school supplies. These are the things that keep kids out of school. I realized how easily that could have been me. That's what motivated me to apply to Lehman College for my master's in school counseling. I also got a job at East Harlem Scholars Academy and finished my MBA while working there full-time. Now, I'm training as a director of operations. My dream is to open my own school one day, to create opportunities for students at the elementary school level, the way ACE did for me. Sometimes even I can't believe how far I've come. What I want you to know, without a doubt, is that your investment has come to fruition. I'm a military sergeant, a fierce advocate for educational equity, and a proud ACE graduate on the verge of completing my second advanced degree. Last September, I was able to buy a home for my family in Yonkers. But it's more than just a house. It's equity, it's security, it's the start of generational wealth for me and my family. In closing, I want to thank Robin Hood and all of you for making this program possible. I want to thank Mr. Hunter and my ACE advisors, Berlin and Alex, for answering every single question and never giving up. Most of all, I want to thank my beautiful mom and my supportive brother who are here today. I wouldn't be standing here without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. That was just incredible and amazing. What an honor to hear from you. Good morning, I'm Alex Mondre. As a young person on Wall Street, it was Robin Hood who matched me with an organization in East New York. It matched my skills and interests, and even more exciting, it was founded by Rich Beery, who is now our incredible CEO. It was called Groundwork. I never had to question whether serving on that board was a good use of my time or investment. With Robin Hood, you know the experience is going to exceed your expectations, and you'll get measurable results in the fight against poverty. Robin Hood's focus on mental health, parenting education, quality of life for New York's children is no exception. As any parent can attest, the first 3 years of a child's life are critical. 80% of a child's brain development develops during this time, and it depends entirely on healthy human connections and positive early learning experiences. The transition to parenthood, as many of us know, is vulnerable for every family. But for those experiencing poverty, the prevalence of increased stress, depression, and social isolation is absolutely staggering. 1 in 4 low-income mothers develop symptoms of postpartum depression after childbirth. Left untreated, this can have severe and long-lasting impacts, not only for the mother, but also can transmit to the child's developing brain. In 2021, Robin Hood became the seed funder of our next honoree, Social Creatures. Their first caregiver program, Bonded by Baby, leads to better parent and child health and increased parenting skills and self-esteem. After just 2 to 3 months of engagement, 35% of parents showed a decrease in postpartum depression, and 17% report higher instances of bonding with their babies. Not only has this program been integrated as a standard of care at Mount Sinai Hospital, over the past 3 years, their effective strategy for health insurance reimbursement makes this program scalable and sustainable for the long term. In the same way that we know that blood pressure medication saves lives, access to maternal mental health should be available to every mother who needs it. For their very, very critical work as a leading initiative for postpartum care across New York City and their multi-generational impact in the fight against poverty, it is my honor to present this Robin Hood Heroes Award to Social Creatures. Here to accept the award on their behalf is program participant Allie Jones.
Hello, everyone. Oh, technical difficulties there. Okay, thank you, Alex, and good morning, everyone. Oh no, y'all not awake. Good morning. Thank you. So, good morning, y'all. I'm very happy to be here. My name's Allie. I come from a large family in South Carolina. My grandparents had 7 children to raise, and I became baby number 8. They were retired by the time I came around, but raising me was a challenge they took on with pride and joy. My grandparents taught me that if you don't work, you don't eat. So I got my first job at 17, and ever since then, the idea of not working has been an agitator to my soul. I always knew I wanted to help people, but I also learned that having a good heart and good intentions will only get you so far. As soon as I graduated from college, I headed straight for New York City, and I had visited one summer when I was 11 and fell in love with the food, the culture, and the fast pace. I found an unpaid internship in a sober living house and eventually started working in a doctor's office to pay the bills. In 2018, I became a certified peer recovery advocate at Bellevue Hospital Center, and I've been there ever since. Thank you. I had always wanted to have children, but when I got pregnant, it was terrible timing. I wasn't with someone who was ready to raise a child, and I really wasn't in a position to afford to do so on my own. It felt impossible, but seeing my baby on that ultrasound, that was it for me. I Googled whatever support I could find that was free or affordable. That's how I found Nurse Family Partnership, another program Robin Hood helped scale for low-income first-time mothers in New York City. NFP sets you up with a visiting nurse during your pregnancy that follows you until your child's 2nd birthday. And let me tell you, I needed that support. I was working full-time, going to grad school, living in a room for rent that didn't allow children. I was so stressed there were days I couldn't get out of bed, and yet at the same time, I could barely sleep. I think I cooked 4 times during my entire pregnancy. And let me tell you, that's just not me. I had no love for myself. I felt I had earned my suffering, that I deserved it. I had experienced anxiety and depression before, but nothing like this. Fast forward to September 6, 2022, that's when my daughter, Aurora, or as I call her, Rory, was born. But then, it was like my brain went septic. I hate sometimes to even think about it. All the things people kept telling me I would feel, I didn't feel them. I kept looking at her thinking, I don't feel connected. I feel like this baby is a stranger. I had gone to stay with family, and I was terrified to tell them what was really going on. I was terrified to tell anyone how dark it was for me. If they knew how bad things were in my head, I knew that they would take my baby away. I knew my baby didn't know any better, and my family was doing everything they could to help me. I was the one who had to adjust. I was in therapy, but there was a hole, and I was falling deeper into it. I was about halfway through my maternity leave when my nurse Priya said, I can see that you're struggling. There's a place you can call. Maybe connecting with other new moms will help you. The intake counselor explained that Bonded by Baby is a 12-week program that typically starts immediately after the child is born. The program is centered on building community, so they put a huge emphasis on the age of the baby and which parents they bring together. Rory was already 3 months. Before the counselor could finish talking, I literally begged her to let us into this program. I was desperate. She assured me that yes, we were a little bit of an outlier, but this program is flexible by design. I'll never forget the sound of our group leader, Maria's voice. She made me feel welcomed, and I cried straight through the first 2 meetings. I didn't have time to be shy. My family had no idea I was on a true countdown clock, wondering if me and my baby were about to be a headline on the evening news. There was a little voice in my head saying, is today the day I'm going to take both of us out? It's very hard to say in front of 400 strangers, and I still have a lot of shame and guilt about it. I want you to know, and I don't say this lightly, this social creature saved me and my baby's life. I was certain no one felt the way that I did, but Bonded by Baby and the other mothers who were brave enough to share their stories made it so easy, made it so clear that I wasn't alone. They made it easy to share and hard to shut down. Week by week, month by month, that connection grew. And with their support, I began to climb out of my hole and started having those feelings of unconditional love everyone kept talking about. Rory had always been a happy baby. Mama just hadn't been happy enough to notice it. Bonded by Baby changed all of that. Soon enough, I was ready to go back to work. But in New York, you need 6 weeks of current pay stubs to secure a child care voucher. How could I return to work without anyone to care for Rory? I was bouncing from my cousin's house to my dad's house in New Jersey, looking for a second job, applying for affordable housing, and participating in research studies for extra money. I was spending $1,650 a month on childcare, and on my pay, that's a lot. You just don't know how broke you can be until you have a child. Am I right? Finally, just in time for Rory's first birthday, a spot opened up at Bellevue Daycare. The very same week, we got our own apartment in the Bronx, down the street from my cousin. For now, I'm focused on day-to-day life with Rory. She hums while she eats. She's obsessed with French fries, bubble baths, and drawing with crayons all over the furniture. Like all 2-year-olds, Rory is not walking, she is running. If I knew I needed to train for the Olympics, I would have done so years ago. as you can see. Eventually, I want to finish grad school and provide geriatric therapy. That's my way of giving back to people like my grandparents. My great-grandmother, Granny, was still alive for the first 6 months of Rory's life. So for a little while, we had 5 generations together. Granny was also a very young single mom. She was 17 when she had my grandma, and that was more than 80 years ago when being a single parent was not exactly welcomed. One day we were sitting down and she said, "Kids happen. Don't worry. You'll make it, Allie. I can't tell you how, but you will." Standing here today, I can tell you that social creatures, Priya, my nurse from NFP, my therapist Joanne, my family and my friends, and those of you willing to invest in the lives of mothers like me, that's how we made it. And because Social Creatures has funding from partners like Robin Hood, I'm proud to share that Bonded by Baby has expanded from 12 weeks to a full year of support. When I think about all Rory and I have been through, I wish I could go back and give myself the compassion I deserved. Thanks to you, Social Creatures was there to do it for me, and it made all the difference. I used to count the days, but now I'm just trying to live as long as possible to spend time with my daughter and my family, and to give her the life and the mother she deserves. I want to thank you for listening to my story, and a very special thank you to God, to my family, and to my friends. I love you.
Thank you, Allie. That was truly inspirational. Definitely a true hero. Good morning, everyone. My name is Darrell Epps, and I'm the Deputy Director of SUNY's Office of Higher Education and Prison. It's truly an honor to be here today with you all to present this morning's Heroes Award to SUNY Chancellor John King. SUNY strives to provide educational services of the highest quality with the broadest possible access. I deeply understand the power of that mission because my academic journey began in the most unlikely of places, a New York State maximum security prison. I grew up the oldest of 3 brothers in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, a neighborhood with a lot of violence and a lot of drugs. I was 13 years old the first time I was escorted through a courtroom wearing shackles and chains. I promised myself I'd never go back. But I couldn't get out of the cycle of hanging with the wrong people and making the wrong decisions. At just 20 and 21 years old, my younger brother Darnell and I were sentenced to 17 and a half years to life. My son was yet to be born. His mother was 6 months pregnant at the time. When he was 6 years old on a prison visiting floor, he said to me, "Daddy, I want to go to college and get mommy a house." I remember sitting in my cell that night thinking, I may never get out, but if I want something better for my son, I have to change. My brother and I began exhausting every therapeutic and vocational opportunity in prison. Then in 2012, we were given access to 1 college class per semester. Even though it was limited, it ignited a spark within us that refused to fade. 4 years later, those small steps paved the way for an extraordinary chance. We got accepted into the first cohort of an associate degree program offered by SUNY Cayuga in partnership with Cornell University. Finally, I could model what I wanted for my son. When my brother and I were paroled in 2017, I continued my studies as a justice and education scholar at Columbia University while juggling full-time employment and attending my first PTA meeting. Higher education became my anchor amidst the chaotic winds of reentry, providing stability and hope in a world vastly different from the one I left as a 21-year-old. I was speaking on my first panel inside Sing Sing Correctional Facility when I met Chancellor King. He had finished serving as Secretary of Education in the Obama administration and was now leading the Ed Trust. There he was, sitting in a maximum security prison talking about education with intention. Just his presence, the way he talked about the struggles in his own life, sparked belief in me. Shortly after that, I got a call saying, John King was asked to moderate a discussion at a convention in Philly. The only way he will agree is if someone justice impacted is on the panel. Would you be interested? What? I was floored, right? I felt so validated as a human being, so validated that he saw my potential. It was one of the most significant experiences of my life. It lit a fire in me that never died down. In 2020, my son Daryl and I both graduated from the College of Staten Island. We did it together. A year later, my partner and I bought our first home. At the same time, my younger brother Jonathan earned his degree and became a lieutenant in the NYPD. He actually followed in my mom's footsteps. After years of domestic violence, she wanted to take the power back in her life and is now a retired NYPD officer too. Last May, my brother Darnell graduated from Yale with his law degree. And one week before, I proudly received my master's in social work. Two dreams that took root in darkness have blossomed into the brightest moments of our lives. A testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the transformative power of higher education, and the unwavering belief in second chances. That belief is embodied in people like John B. King Jr., a man who has spent his life ensuring that educational equity, justice, and opportunity are not just for some, but for all. Under his leadership, SUNY currently offers instruction in 24 of New York's 44 correctional facilities, but he won't stop there until we are in every single one. In the meantime, as was published in a recent letter to the editor of The New Yorker, Chancellor King keeps showing up in full regalia at graduations held in prison rec rooms across the state. And let me tell you, it is full regalia, head to toe, the gown, the ropes, the hat. This is just one thing Chancellor King does to give these graduations the dignity they deserve. For all he has done and all he is yet to do, it is my true privilege to present this Heroes Award to SUNY Chancellor, Robin Hood board member, and one of my personal heroes, John B. King Jr.
Daryl, thank you for proving that with access to education, anything is possible. Can we have another round of applause for Daryl? I believe so deeply in the transformative power of education because of the experiences I've had in my own life. As some of you know, I grew up in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, the son of two New York City public school educators. My father grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant. He served as a teacher, a principal, and eventually executive deputy superintendent for New York City schools, at the time the highest ranking African-American educator in the country. My mother came to New York from Puerto Rico as a little girl. She grew up in the Bronx, the child of a single mother who was a garment worker. She was the first in her family to graduate from college and became a New York City public school teacher and counselor. I carried their faith in education with me every day, even though I lost them both by the time I was 12. My mother died of a heart attack when I was 8. And I spent the next 4 years living alone with my father as he struggled with undiagnosed Alzheimer's. By 7th grade, I was doing the laundry, cooking meals, and signing checks in my father's name to pay overdue bills. As he got sicker, I was forced to sneak into his room to steal money to buy food. After my father passed, I moved around between family members and schools. Like many young adults, especially young men of color who've experienced trauma at an early age, I was incredibly angry and lost. I resisted authority. I made many mistakes, and I got kicked out of high school. At that point, my life could have gone in a lot of directions. But it was public school educators who took the time to help a broken and struggling kid find his path. Without them, I really don't think I'd be alive today. I certainly would not have gone on to Harvard and Yale and committed my career to educational equity. That second chance changed my life and helped me get where I am today. But the reality is that millions of Americans whose lives started out not so different from my own are incarcerated in prisons and detention centers across the nation. Most do not get that second chance. Daryl's story is extraordinary, but it's still far too rare. Less than 10% of incarcerated individuals complete any post-secondary degree or certificate while in prison. President Obama and our team in the Obama administration recognized that Congress made a profound mistake in 1994 when they banned using federal money to pay for college classes for the incarcerated. It was bad policy during the tough on crime era, and it caused dozens upon dozens of higher education and prison programs all over the country to close overnight. In 2015, President Obama asked us to launch the Second Chance Pell pilot program, allowing an initial group of 65 colleges and universities to provide higher education in prisons with Pell Grants. That pilot opened the door for civil rights advocates, criminal justice reform advocates, and directly impacted students like Daryl and his brother. Stories like theirs changed the conversation so much that in December 2020, Congress repealed the ban. Last year, more than 500,000 incarcerated people were finally given access to Pell Grants and the opportunity to pursue higher education. It's amazing to see the development of public policy through to the impact on the ground at places like SUNY. As Daryl said, right now we have 14 campuses offering degrees in 23 state prisons and 1 federal facility, serving more than 1,000 students each year. We are the largest education provider to those who are incarcerated in the state, and we aren't done yet. We want to have a SUNY program in every correctional facility in the state. These programs are a perfect reflection of the Robin Hood spirit. Study after study has shown that every dollar spent on college courses for incarcerated students saves $4 to $5 in reincarceration costs. That's because, according to a RAND Corporation study, individuals who participate in any type of educational program while in prison are 43% less likely to return to prison. Those who leave with a degree, their recidivism is in the single digits. In contrast, 78% of those incarcerated in state prison who are released are rearrested within 5 years. It just changes your trajectory to be able to come home with a degree that allows you to get a good job. And so from a poverty-fighting standpoint, from a social mobility standpoint, these programs are incredibly meaningful. But more than that, when we invest in incarcerated individuals as students, rather than labeling them only as offenders, it changes their view of themselves. I will always remember what Daryl told me when we first met, that getting his degree in prison was the first time in his life he had any moral credibility with his family. His ability, Daryl's ability, to model going to college on the inside kept his son on the right track on the outside. What we have to consider is this: 95% of people who are incarcerated are coming home. The question is, how do we want them to come home? In a just society, there is consequence, but we don't have to dehumanize. Every single one of us, if given the right opportunity, can be more than the sum of the mistakes we have made. One of the things I love most about Robin Hood is that we believe in second chances, but we don't like to leave things to chance. We know that when we ensure access to higher education, we don't have to depend on luck. Whether you are motivated by justice or economics, we must take on the fight against poverty not only in our elementary schools or at the college level, but in our prisons too. And we must do it in the Robin Hood way, with rigor, evidence, advocacy, and scale. This is the evolution of the belief in education my parents gave me, the thing that gets me out of bed every morning. I've worked in government, I've started schools, I've run nonprofits, I've spent time in literally thousands of classrooms. After serving on the Robin Hood board for nearly a decade, I can tell you it's hard to find people who care this much about getting people on a path out of poverty permanently. That's what America is supposed to be about. Robin Hood is one of the places it's still possible. I want to thank my colleagues at SUNY and the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, my family for all their support, and I want to thank you all for this tremendous honor. And on behalf of every person in every cell who's been given access to an education, and everyone who is still waiting for that chance, I want to thank Robin Hood for shining a light on this important work here today. Thank you all so much.